Well, I was thinking of putting this video together, and I figured, it's kind of important that I put it together. We're going to talk about all the things Cuomo's done in the past 8 years to make at least my life worse and the lives of many of the Long Islanders worse. Of course, he's made the lives of people in the city worse as well. First of all, this picture here is actually taken this evening at sunset at Hicksville. But he's made a lot of people's lives miserable, all right? Here on Long Island, in the city, people's lives have been made miserable by the homelessness, and all the other problems. A lot of that has to do with Bill de Blasio, but Cuomo has not really done anything. Any governor worth his salt would have sent in the state guard to clean up the problems in the city. It's worse than ever. I mean, it's like the 70s are back with all the homeless and the vagrants everywhere, and just the crime and all the other problems that have gone on in the city. But this video is going to talk more about how Governor Cuomo has screwed Long Island, and the transportation and even some of the environmental things. Even though he's done some good, he's done far more worse. So this guy, first of all, is nothing like his father, Mario Cuomo. Mario Cuomo was a great governor of this state. He did a few things I didn't like, but Andrew, he has turned out to be more of a Wall Street kind of Democrat, somebody who's come in and basically, added a lot of corruption to this state, added a lot of corruption into things that were running fairly decently before he came along. He has, turned the state government into a mockery by, adding in so much corruption going on. And he's been involved in a lot of corruption, this guy. All right? And here we are faced with a choice this November. Do we actually reelect this guy? I say the answer should be a no. It should be no. All right? Democratic Party, vote against him. In the primary, in the general election, if there's a Republican, vote for the Republican, all right? And if it comes to the point where it's Cuomo versus Trump, because Cuomo, he wants to run for president, I'll have to vote for Trump again, because I can't stand Cuomo even that much more. Why the disgust for Cuomo? Why the disgust for him? Well, I'll tell you why. Because he has messed up with our public transportation. All right? He has messed up our public transportation. And it started when we lost Long Island Bus. After all, this is a guy who's friends with ex-Nassau County Executive Ed Mangano, the guy who got rid of MTA Long Island Bus and pretty much destroyed Nassau County's bus network, to the point of it maybe carrying half the people it used to, all right? He got rid of Long Island Bus because Mangano, it wasn't all Mangano. Cuomo really had a big hand in getting the MTA out of Nassau County. Cuomo has ruined the MTA. Before Cuomo came along, we had MTA Long Island Bus, all right? And with the exception of some minor service cuts, MTA Long Island Bus preserved the majority of its service through the years. And it had a well-maintained fleet of buses, and you could count on those buses showing up. It was very rare that there were breakdowns. You could count on those buses showing up. And they were kept taken care of. They were clean. They were well taken care of. And in the final years, we had the last of the next gens coming in. And these were fine. They didn't start breaking down so much until Nice came along and messed everything up. All right? But sure enough, that we couldn't keep MTA here because, after all, Cuomo and Mangano are on kickbacks with the taxis and various other corruption schemes going on that should have been uncovered. All right? And Mangano right now is on trial, and I'm hoping Cuomo will face justice too. And, of course, with MTA Long Island Bus here, MTA buses filled in for the railroad when there was a planned work or even a disruption, an unplanned disruption. People were rarely ever left stranded without bus service when there was a train suspension. They always sent buses out. But now, it's no longer the case now. Because in 2012, when Cuomo and Mangano started wreaking havoc around here, Nice Bus came into existence. And Nice Bus has been anything but nice since the day they came in. There have been breakdowns. There have been unreliability issues. Even buses that are not even that old are breaking down. And this was due to poor maintenance because there wasn't any maintenance. All right? We hit the breakdowns, and let me tell you, I've seen so many breakdowns over the years with Nice Bus. It's not funny, and the hell that people have went through, having their buses missing, not showing up. People started losing riders. People had enough of this stuff. They had enough of waiting out in the rain for buses that don't show up because they broke down. All right? And Long Island Bus maintained the buses. Most of the time you can count on, it might be a little late due to traffic, but you can count on that. And then came the cuts. And cuts and more cuts. And these cuts have been devastating. And there are no plans right now to restore any of these cuts that were made, despite the fact Nice is in a better financial shape. These cuts should have been restored, especially the weekend N27 service, the N72 to Babylon. These cuts have been absolutely devastating to the ridership, and absolutely just devastating. And it's really just destroyed a lot of the. And then we had these Excelsior buses coming, these piece of junk Excelsior buses, which break down a lot too. I'm not a fan of these XNs 40s. This is something Cuomo's also done. He's destroying all the vintage buses in New York. The city's getting these things too. All right, and they're going to get rid of the Orion, the original OG Orion 7s. These things are probably going to get rid of them. The Orion 5s are gone. And of course the cuts weren't just limited to Nassau. Suffolk County as well also had to deal with some of these cuts. Here's another picture of a breakdown. But Suffolk County also had to deal with some of these cuts because the state has not been properly funding bus service on Long Island. And so Suffolk County had to make a whole bunch of cuts, like getting rid of the S71 and the S90 and a slew of other routes that had to be gotten rid of that left a lot of people stranded and often with no alternatives close by. And of course, for some reason, Suffolk had always been getting Gilligs. And then when Cuomo came in, he's like, no, Suffolk's going to get more Orions. We're going to get Next Gens instead. And the Next Gens turned out to be crappy and not reliable compared to the Gilligs. They could have gotten Gillig BRTs. No, they had to get Next Gens. And these cuts were terrible. Some of the routes I missed the most were the S90. And yeah, most of the Gillig Phantoms are now retired. And the Orion 5s are all gone and have been gone for a while. And those are some damn great buses. Those are some of the best buses Suffolk ever had, and they were retired way too soon. And I partially blame it on Cuomo. I really do, because Suffolk couldn't have the funding to keep the older buses around. And these cuts, like I said, have been devastating, I think, for Suffolk County as well. The loss of some of these routes, and the replacement buses. Guess what Suffolk getting? No, they're getting Gillig. No, they're getting junk Celsiors too. And I think Cuomo has something to do with this. I really do. He just loves the junk Celsiors. He wants them all over the state. Maybe he's getting kickbacks from New Flyer, for all we know. And then, of course, Suffolk also got our box, too. So we've seen a deterioration and a shrinkage of the amount of bus service being provided in both Nassau and Suffolk under Cuomo. Some of the worst cuts in bus service history on Long Island have taken place under Andrew Cuomo's leadership in Albany, so-called leadership. But anyway, let's get to the Long Island Railroad, because he had to screw that up, too. Long Island Railroad had issues. It wasn't perfect. It had a lot of issues, but it got a lot worse. Helena Williams at least tried to really care about the customers. She focused on the main line because she knew it was the most important part of the railroad. But Cuomo came in and decided, no, we can't have that. My friends on Wall Street want somebody who's only going to care about the Babylon branch and let everything else fall apart. So he fires Helena Williams literally one day, has security escort her out of the building, despite the fact she served for many years. She got no respect. She was kicked out. And this douchebag, Patrick Nowakowski, came in. And the minute he came in, things started getting screwed up. The main line became a lot less reliable. There were a lot more problems, poor communication problems, no replacement buses. People left stranded. And this guy, he's there because Cuomo wants him there. And Joe Lahota doesn't have any cojones to fire this guy. He won't stand up to Cuomo. So we have these problems, constant problems on the main line. And I'm sure there's going to be one very soon where the main line is suspended. And, of course, there's no alternative service being provided. They just tell you to take the Babylon branch, of course. Take the Babylon branch. Take the Babylon branch. That's all they care about is the Babylon branch. They don't care about the main line. I don't ever remember so many service suspensions due to broken rails, poles going down on the main line. The main line used to be a lot more reliable, all right? And then Patrick Nowakowski came in and wreaked havoc and just results in cancellations. And of course, we have the planned track work going on, which screws the main line, and the Babylon branch gets to keep all its service. Of course, we know that already. The chaos that people have had to endure. I've seen chaos like I've never seen before on public transportation here on Long Island. Between Nice Bus and the Long Island Railroad. This has all happened since Cuomo has taken office. He could take credit. Oh, I'm getting the third track project. I'm getting all these projects done, but you're not maintaining what's there. And these are just distractions, so he can just pat himself on the back while he screws us. All right? The reason why these problems are occurring is simple. Things aren't being maintained properly. What he brought to Nice Bus is now the Long Island Railroad. Nice Bus is becoming, the MTA is becoming the next Nice Bus, all right? Because they're not maintaining things properly, once again. On the main line is falling apart. But unlike Nice Bus, the MTA is actually worse because they're showing they are taking care of one part of the railroad, and only one part, because that's where Cuomo's friends on Wall Street live. The pretty little Babylon branch with its concrete ties now all the way out to Merrick. Well, we get to deal with tracks broken everywhere. All right, they get concrete ties, but it's all because they work on Wall Street. Wall Street and the people in the finance sector and the banking sector have a huge amount of control in our government and are probably giving a lot of kickbacks to Governor Cuomo. Of course, it was never this bad before Cuomo, but it has gotten completely out of control to the point where this corruption is just ridiculous. And we cannot afford 4 more years of this. We cannot afford 4 more years of these people trying to screw us. All right? And let's not forget, now that MTA Bus is no longer allowed on Long Island, people have to deal with freaking school buses, which are not meant to carry adults. They're used for planned work, and it's totally outrageous. But again, Cuomo won't let the MTA out here. He will not let the MTA out here. He wants to screw us. And of course, no, he hasn't just screwed human beings. He's also screwed the Pine Barrens as well. While he can pat himself on the back at protecting acres in the Pine Barrens, we've lost more Pine Barrens since under Andrew Cuomo's leadership than ever before. In Yaphank, in Riverhead, in various, in Mastic, the just 60 acres that we just lost due to the solar farm. I never remember so much destruction until Cuomo took office. All right, it's gotten a lot worse. The guy has not, he may say he cares about the Pine Barrens. The man is lying through his teeth. He is a con artist. He is every bit as bad as Mangano, if not worse than Mangano. We've lost the Pine Barrens also. We've lost a lot of Pine Barrens due to southern pine beetles as well. We have lost a lot of Pine Barrens due to southern pine beetles. And, he hasn't done enough about it. The response was not aggressive enough. There wasn't enough containment quick enough. And there weren't enough, and still aren't enough, controlled burns. We used to do more controlled burns in our Pine Barrens, but guess what happened? Cuomo's cut the funding for that, because he only really cares about the upstate woods. We're not really enough about the Pine Barrens. So can the Pine Barrens afford 4 more years of Cuomo? Absolutely not. So I made this video because I want all my fellow New Yorkers to know that Cuomo must go. And for those who say move to New Jersey, I'm sorry, I don't want to live in New Jersey. All right, Long Island and New York is my home, and we can. It's a lot easier to get a new governor than it is to make our own state or change to another state. I'm proud to be a New Yorker, and I'm standing up for all New Yorkers and all Long Islanders. We are all New Yorkers, and Governor Cuomo has done more to harm this state than any other governor in the history of this state. No matter where you are in this state, think of all the suffering that you have been going through. It is all because of him, and it is all because of the corruption. We cannot afford 4 more years of Governor Andrew Cuomo. So this November, please, elect someone else, anyone else but Cuomo. We cannot afford 4 more years of Cuomo. New York can't afford it, Long Island can't afford it, and the Pine Barrens can't afford it. Please take care.